Wealthy woman laughs at cashier, faces karma, when truth is revealed. Have you ever looked down on someone because of their job, their appearance, or the way they carry themselves? What if, one day, the person you mocked turned out to be someone far more important than you ever imagined? This is the story of a wealthy woman who, in a moment of arrogance, laughed at a humble cashier, only to have karma deliver a shocking twist. The lesson? You never know who's watching or what lies beneath the surface. It was a busy afternoon at the upscale mall in the heart of the city. Shiny glass storefronts reflected the sunlight, casting a glow over the sea of well-dressed shoppers as they bustled between high-end boutiques. Luxury cars were parked outside, their polished exteriors gleaming under the bright afternoon sun. The smell of fresh coffee and expensive perfumes lingered in the air as people navigated the crowded corridors, their footsteps echoing in the marble-floored hallways. Inside a designer department store, the cash registers were constantly ringing as shoppers made their purchases. Among them was a woman named Veronica, an elegant figure who exuded wealth and confidence. Dressed in the latest high-fashion clothes, with her hair styled perfectly and her nails painted a glossy shade of red, Veronica moved with an air of superiority. She had always been the center of attention wherever she went, and she was used to people admiring her. That afternoon, as she made her way to the checkout counter, she couldn't help but notice the young cashier at the register. The girl behind the counter was named Lily. She was in her early 20s, with soft features and a calm demeanor. She wore the standard store uniform, a simple polo shirt with the store logo and black slacks, but she carried herself with a quiet grace that was often overlooked. Her hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, and her eyes, though tired, sparkled with a gentle warmth that belied her humble position. Lily greeted Veronica with a polite smile as the wealthy woman approached the counter. "Hello, ma'am. How can I assist you today?" Lily asked, her tone respectful but not overly deferential. Veronica barely looked at her eyes scanning the store as she placed her items on the counter. "I'm just here to pay. I don't have time for small talk," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Lily's smile faltered slightly, but she said nothing. She began ringing up Veronica's items, taking care to scan each one carefully. As she did, Veronica's eyes narrowed in slight disdain. "Honestly, I don't know how you do it," Veronica said, her tone almost mocking. "Working in a place like this, dealing with customers who don't know the first thing about luxury, it must be exhausting." Lily, taken aback by the woman's words, paused for a brief moment, but she composed herself quickly, continuing with her task. She had heard similar comments before, from people who assumed that her job defined her worth. Still, it never stopped stinging. Veronica continued, her voice now louder, almost as if she wanted the people in line behind her to hear. "I suppose some people just don't know any better. I can't even imagine living a life so ordinary." Lily's face remained neutral, though her heart sank. She had heard the judgment before, the assumption that a job in retail was somehow lesser, that it didn't deserve respect. But today, for some reason, Veronica's words cut deeper than usual. Maybe it was because she had worked so hard to get to this point, to support herself while pursuing her dreams. And yet, here she was, being belittled by a woman who had never known a day of struggle in her life. As Veronica handed over her credit card, she noticed a few other customers in the store staring at her. She smirked, relishing the attention. It was moments like these that made her feel superior, like she was above everyone else. Lily, on the other hand, was used to being overlooked, fading into the background while others took the spotlight. But she wasn't like the others who worked in retail. She had big dreams, a plan for her future, and a quiet determination that had kept her going despite the hardships. "Here you go, ma'am," Lily said, handing Veronica her receipt and bag of purchases. Veronica took the bag from her hands with a dismissive flick of her wrist, not even acknowledging Lily's polite gesture. "Thanks, I guess," she muttered, before turning on her heel and walking out of the store without another word. Lily watched her go, trying to push away the sting of the words. She had worked hard to get this job, to support herself through school, and make a future for herself. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And she knew that one day she could leave this behind and build something bigger for herself. What Veronica didn't know, however, was that Lily's life was already changing, far beyond the wealthy woman's comprehension. 2 days later, the atmosphere at the department store was bustling with activity as usual. Veronica, who had completely forgotten about the brief encounter with Lily, returned to the store. She had just finished shopping at a few of her favorite designer boutiques and was looking to buy a gift for a friend. She headed to the same register where she had been a few days prior. Lily was standing there, scanning items for another customer, when she noticed Veronica approaching. This time, however, Veronica didn't seem to notice her at first, distracted by the shopping bags in her hand. As Veronica placed her items on the counter, she did not attempt to acknowledge Lily's presence. This time, her behavior was more dismissive than before. Lily's heart sank as she began ringing up the items, but she refused to let Veronica's arrogance affect her. She did her job, hoping that the interaction would be brief. "What happened to the woman who was here last time?" Veronica suddenly asked, breaking the silence. Lily glanced up, surprised by the question. "I'm not sure what you mean, ma'am," she replied. "The one who was working the register," Veronica continued, her voice now filled with an edge of curiosity. "The girl with the brown hair. She was a little quiet." Lily smiled softly, trying to hide the frustration that was bubbling up inside. "That was me, ma'am," she said, trying to keep the conversation polite despite the sting of the earlier comments. Veronica's eyes widened for a moment as the realization hit her. She gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, clearly embarrassed by her previous comments. But instead of apologizing or acknowledging her mistake, Veronica simply muttered, "Well, it's nice to see you again, I suppose." What Veronica didn't know was that Lily's story was about to take an unexpected turn. She didn't know that Lily was, in fact, the daughter of a highly successful entrepreneur who had quietly built a fortune in the tech industry. Lily's mother, a woman of great accomplishments, had chosen to live a private life, far from the public eye. The family wealth was vast, but Lily had always chosen to work hard on her own, seeking a sense of independence and accomplishment rather than simply relying on her family's fortune. As Veronica was about to finish paying for her items, a man in a tailored suit entered the store. His presence was commanding, and the people around him seemed to move aside in quiet reverence. He walked directly to the counter where Lily was standing, his eyes scanning the area before locking onto her. "Lily, darling," the man said with a warm smile. "How's everything going today?" Veronica stared at the scene unfolding before her. The man was someone she recognized from the business news. He was the CEO of a major tech company, one of the wealthiest individuals in the country. And now, here he was, speaking to the cashier as if they were longtime friends. Veronica's eyes darted between the two of them, the realization dawning slowly. "This is Mr. Martin, my family's close friend," Lily explained, a slight smile tugging at her lips as she greeted the man with a respectful nod. Veronica's mouth went dry. The woman she had mocked, the cashier she had looked down on, was the daughter of one of the wealthiest people she had ever known. She had no idea that the girl she'd belittled was tied to a legacy of power and success that far surpassed anything Veronica could imagine. Veronica stood frozen, speechless as Mr. Martin turned to her with a polite nod. "I hope you're enjoying your shopping experience today," he said in a voice laced with polite formality. There was a subtle edge to his tone that hinted at a deeper understanding of the situation. He knew exactly who Veronica was, and he wasn't about to let her off the hook for her behavior. The moment hung in the air for a beat longer, before Veronica hastily gathered her things, her face flushed with embarrassment. She muttered a quick, half-hearted goodbye and fled from the store, leaving behind the woman she had once dismissed with such ease. As Veronica left the store, her mind raced with the realization of how wrong she had been. She had underestimated Lily, made assumptions based on her appearance, and failed to see the truth that was right in front of her. The experience was a wake-up call, a reminder that no one should ever be judged by their job, their clothes, or their social status. In the end, it was Lily who held the power, not just because of her family's wealth, but because of her quiet dignity and the way she carried herself. She had earned respect through her own hard work, and in the end, karma had a way of revealing the truth. Never judge a book by its cover. You never know who someone truly is or what they are capable of. Respect is earned, not given based on assumptions or appearances.